Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new or returning, welcome. Today we're going to be making the spring bunny. So first I use Bernat Baby Blanket. It is my favorite type of yarn. It's very easy to use. You'll need a pair of scissors along with a crochet hook. Mine is 4.25 millimeters, and then a yarn needle. You will also need safety eyes and stuffing. So first we're going to learn how to do a magic ring. This is how I wind my fingers, and I feel like it's the easiest way to keep your yarn straight and very taut so it is easier to work with. So you're going to cross it in front and then pinch where the sides meet. You're going to take your crochet hook, insert it inside of that circle, grab your yarn underneath and pull through. And you're going to do that again. And so that'll make your magic circle. That is the easiest way that I've learned, and hopefully it's easy for you. Next, you're going to make 6 single crochets inside the magic ring. So I went inside the ring, and then I just pull up a loop of yarn and go through both, and that's how you make a single crochet. You're then going to repeat that 4 more times so you have a total of 6 single crochets in your magic ring. Once you have finished making those 6, you're going to take that little tail and pull it through, and then you're just going to kind of shove to close that circle in. And so that should have scrunched it up, and so you can no longer see any gap in the middle. We then just insert our hook back in, and I wind my fingers back, and I just pull my yarn tight. Our next step is we're going to increase around. So you're going to go into that very first stitch. You're going to make 1 single crochet, so we pull up a loop and then go through both, and you're going to go in that same stitch and do it again. So you have 2 in 1. Then you'll go in the next stitch and do the same thing. So we pull up 1 single crochet, and then same stitch, pull up another. And you do that all the way around, so you should have 12 in total. Now you should have 12 single crochets around. We're going to go into the first one, single crochet just once, go into the second stitch, and then increase. So we do 2 single crochets in the second stitch. So again, you'll go 1 single crochet, and then in the next stitch, 2, and increase. And you'll do that all the way around, so you should have 18 stitches by the end of it. Here is 18 stitches done. In the next round, you're going to do almost the same thing. You do 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and then in that third stitch, you're going to increase. So it's 2 single crochet, increase. So we go 1 single crochet, go in the next stitch, 1 single crochet, and in that third stitch, let me pull some yarn out. In that third stitch, you're going to do an increase. So 1 single crochet, and then again in the same stitch, 1 single crochet, and do that all the way around. You should end up with 24. So now that we have 24 single crochets around, you're starting to see it kind of take shape, get a little bigger. We're going to do the same thing, but now it's 3. So 1, 2, 3 single crochets, and then in that 4th stitch, you're going to increase. So 1 more in that same stitch. You're going to repeat that all the way around, and you should end up with 30 single crochets around. Here's what it should look like so far with 30 single crochets around. Now that we have our base, we're done increasing, we're just going to single crochet around in every single stitch. So you're just doing 30 single crochets in each stitch around. We're going to do this in a total of 6 rounds. So you're going to do 30, 30, 30, all the way up to 6 sets of 30. You can pause the video if you would like and do all of the rounds, and I will get back to you after we do those 6 rounds of 30. Alright, after you are done doing your 6 rounds of 30, this is what it should look like. You can kind of see the head taking form. You can see all of our rows. For the next round, we're going to be adding on decreases. So we're going to be doing 3 single crochets and then an invisible decrease. So we go 1 single crochet, followed by 2 more. And then we're going to take just the front loops of the next 2 stitches. So you're going to go through and just pick up the very first front loop, the second front loop, pull through both, and then yarn over and pull through both. So again, that's 3 single crochets. And then you just go through the front loops of the next 2 stitches. Pull through and pull through. And you repeat that around. You should look like this with 24 stitches around. Now we're going to add in the safety eyes. I used 18mm this time, but you can also use 16mm or anything around that range. It's really up to you. So I just placed them in a couple rounds back. That way I don't run into them when crocheting. So I kind of gauge how it looks, and then this is the one where I used the 16mm eyes. They're just the slightest bit tinier. And I think I'm going to move it over just one more. And they should be about that distance so we can have the nose in the middle. I'm just going to place in the safety eye backs just by snapping them with my fingers. You can pick any spot you want for the eyes. This is just generally where I put mine. For the next round, we're going to keep those decreases going. So now we are doing 2 single crochets and then an invisible decrease. So we go in 2 stitches with single crochets like normal, then just taking those front loops only, going through once and going through again for our invisible decrease. So 2 single crochets followed by a decrease. And you're going to do that all the way around, and you should end up with 18 stitches. Here's what it should look like so far, and we are going to stuff it later, but I'm just going to wait for that until later in the assembly. So now we're going to do 1 single crochet and decrease all the way around. You should end up with 12 stitches. Then once we're finished, that's how it should look. We're just going to go into the next stitch. You're going to pick up your yarn, then you're just going to go through the loop that was on your hook and pull out. That is called a slip stitch. It's basically just to hold it better than just leaving it with a single crochet, but you can just pull through the single crochet. Then you're just going to cut your yarn and we finish the head. So this is how it should look. You have a little tail to sew on later. And now we're going to add on some of the details. So I have pink acrylic yarn, pink fluffy yarn, and then we have black acrylic yarn. We're going to start with the nose. So I already threaded my needle, and we're just going to go into the stitch kind of far out and then go into where we want our nose to be. I like putting it like about 1 or 2 stitches away from the eye, and it's going to cover about 2 to 3 stitches itself. So we go back into the same hole we just put through, that way we can wrap it twice. So we go back into that same thing, and then you can just leave the tail in the head, just like that. And then for this one, you can kind of just stuff it back into the head as well. You can grab your hook and try to wrap it, or you can just pull it from the back. And that's our little nose. Next, we are using our black yarn and we're going to be embroidering the eyelashes. This is completely optional. You don't have to do this part. I just like doing it before we put the stuffing in because it's easier for me to sew. So we go in right next to the eye. You're gonna kind of place it around and go in just like one stitch out from the eye and back through the head. So I just grab it and pull through just very lightly, and then it creates a little eyelash look. And if you pull it kind of tight, it kind of just sits on top of the safety eye. And that's your little eyelash. And we're gonna do the same to the other side. So you just go in, and I don't even cut my yarn, but you can. You go in right on the eyeball, pull it through, gently wrap it around the safety eye, and go in about one stitch out and pull through the head. And just lightly tug it, and it kind of takes the form on its own. And those are your eyelashes. Next, we're going to be adding just a little bit of blush. Once again, this is optional. I go about one space right at the edge of the eye, go in with mine, leave a little tail inside the head, and you're just going to go one stitch over. It's just a super short, easy little blush look, and you just pull it and it sits perfectly. And you do the same to the other side. I don't cut my yarn, and you just go right next to the eye, pull your needle through, and just hop over one stitch and go back into the head. And there you have your little blush and eyelashes. Alright, the next section is going to be our arms. So we're going to create a magic ring. Remember, you just fold it over and pinch where it meets, go in the hole, pull through once, pull through twice, and we have our little circle. You're going to go in and do 8 single crochets in the magic ring. So we go into the circle, pull up a loop, and pull through both 8 times. Once you have that, just flip that tail in and tug a little bit to close the hole. The arms are super simple because all that you have to do now is single crochet around. So you're just going to go into that first stitch and single crochet 8 around. And you're going to do that a total of 6 times. And that's going to be your entire arm. No increases, no decreases, just single crochet around 6 times of 8. As it's curving in, remember to flip your work inside out because we don't want that tail on the outside. It should always be on the inside. Then keep single crocheting as normal. This is how it should look after your 6 rounds of 8 single crochets. And then all that we're going to do is this slip stitch again. So you're just going to go into the next stitch, pick up a loop, and go through the loop on your hook, and then pull out. You're going to cut your yarn, and so we're leaving a tail to sew on later. Then you're just going to pull, and that's your finished arm. You're going to make 2 of these in total. We are now going to be making our ears. So you're going to do a magic ring, just go through the circle, pick up a loop, and chain 1. And you're going to do 8 single crochets in the magic ring. Then flip the tail inwards and tug to close the hole. Next, you're going to do 8 increases. You're going to increase in each stitch around. So you do 1, go back into the same one and do another. Go into the next stitch, do one, go in the same stitch, do another. So in total you'll have 16 stitches by the end. For the next round, you're going to do one single crochet and then in the next stitch an increase. So you go into one single crochet, into the other, and do two in the same stitch. And you will do that all the way around until you have 24. Here's what it should look like. Now for this next round, it's something different. You're going to do 7 single crochets. So we go 7 completely normal, in each stitch just one single crochet. Then in the next stitch you're going to do an increase. You're going to repeat that 7 single crochet increase 3 times, so you have a total of 27 stitches. This is how it should look, and then for our next round we're going to be doing just single crochets around for 3 rounds. So 3 rounds of 27 stitches. And remember, as you're single crocheting around, to flip your work inside out. This is how it should look after the 3 rounds of 27. We have our tail inside, and so in the next round we're going to be doing 7 single crochets and then a decrease. So I'm single crocheting 7, just like normal. Then I'm just taking the front loops, going through both, and going through both. I'm going to do this 3 times around, so it should be 24 stitches in total. This is how it should turn out, and then for the next round, all you're doing is single crocheting around the 24 stitches. Once you've done that, you're going to do 4 single crochets, and then decrease. So taking the front loops, going through both, going through both. You're going to repeat that 4 times so you end up with 20 stitches. You're going to single crochet around the 20 stitches. After you've done that, you can kind of see it taking shape. So eventually we're going to push it in and make it look like the dent. But for now, our next round is going to be 3 single crochets and a decrease. So go in 3 times, single crochet, and then in the next 2 stitches we do our invisible decrease. And you're going to repeat that 4 times around, so you end up with 16 stitches. For the next round, you're going to be doing single crochet around for 3 rounds. So you're going to do 16 stitches 3 times. Once you're done, it should look like this.